Well, hello and welcome back to Partick Hill Station for another trying Hornby Railways Catalogue review. And in this one, it's edition 20, which was 1974-75. Now, before we get into it, just interesting that this here is very similar to the one displayed by Kuno on the cover. And the reason that I've introduced this is the topic of problems with the Ringfield motor. Now, Barry Davis has done extensive reviews and videos on this particular motor or variations of the same, and when I spoke with him last regarding this subject, he suggested that because I was experiencing spinning of the wheels or the cogs but no forward motion, he suggested the problem lies with the cog, and especially the nylon plastic ones. It no longer is an engineered fit between the shaft and the cog, and so when you put this on the track and take the tender cover off, turn the power on, you'll see these would be spinning, but it's not moving. Now, I looked at the cog, not in this one specifically, but this is a good example and I'll explain why. So I took everything off here and the cog was fitting perfectly. It wasn't an issue. Cleaned everything up, put it back on, and it continued to spin. Removed it again, oiled up some items where appropriate, put it back together again, went through the same process, and it continued to spin. What I discovered was that, I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's not easy to see that the smaller cog in there, and you'd only see it if you took the weights off. And if you have the problem, that's the best way out. Remove the weights, remove the motor, and check everything. And you may find that the small cog in here, which should engage with that cog on that wheel, is sometimes not aligned. Whether it's because the gauge is out or it's slack on one side, not fitting properly, but you can squeeze them back together and make sure that that small cog is engaged, and that will most likely solve your dilemma and get it back running. Anyway, I just thought you would like to see and hear about that. So back to the review. A beautiful painting here with a couple of kids, and interestingly I did a sketch similar to this with a fence in it, the train coming out a tunnel, and a boy in his bike standing waving. So there's a nice layout. I wonder how many of you had one like this. Yeah, everybody deserves a Hornby train set, but we would never have had space where we live to have a train set that size. So of course, they go into where you can store it, behind a cupboard in the loft, which I know many of you have, hanging from the ceiling, or in a folding table type thing. and then they talk about the service dealers and some train talk about having fun and the type of starter trains you can get into. Exciting features that make Hornby Railways even more realistic and fun. Yeah, the hand lining, I mean, it's beautiful. I've got a tool as a young draftsman. I had to buy my own tools, and some of them were for lining with ink, and I still have them. So I can do that type of lining on the handrail and such like. You know, here's this magnehesion again, which we no longer require. The synchro smoke, I don't think you get that anymore. And the chuff chuff exhaust, I've got one that does that. And the power control centres, a variety of them, they've all developed over the years. And automatic train control, many of you have some system that allows for this. And the track plan book, which is very helpful. Plated wheels on the silver seal, rolling stock give improved current pickup and smoother running, and then the track geometry, automatic uncoupling and clips for power. Now, I did have a clockwork set, and it very well might have been one of these. I just don't recall, it so long ago. And there's a nice little set there. I think, yeah, battery operated. That would be really helpful, especially when you had to put a shilling in the meter to keep the electricity going in the house. I used shoe boxes for my tunnels. And there's another variation. Nice little set. Okay, so there's the blue Pullman set. Wonderful set. The R538. So I've got a set of those, and I have the grey and white. Not a complete set. I think I've got a couple of drivers and a couple of dummies, and maybe one coach. And there's the R539, the Freightmaster train set. And I've got one of those diesels. It's still runs quite well, and I have a rake of the Blue Circle tanks, and I'm sure you've all had or do have variations of these. And there's the set. I mean, it looks really nice, and yeah, I still love that and the sound of it. So, you know, we're getting heavily into the Triang or Hornby Railways electric train sets. Now, I may have the odd one of this colour of the coaches that came out, you know, on or before 1974. But most of them that I've got now, you know, are the slightly different colouring. And the Princess class, the ubiquitous Princess class. I have a few of them in various states of running order. And here's the nice little goods train with the wheel carrier and the pannier tank. Royal Mail set, or in this case the R544 Intercity Mail Action Train set. In the Lord Westwood R542, here you see the car transporter complete with cars, and that was also another set called the Carabelle set. And here it's breaking it down into accessories, the complete Royal Mail set, which I have. And then automatic tipping to roll the pipes off, pretty dangerous actually in real life. And there's the helicopter set. And then the ore wagon set. That's an interesting setup with a high mech below. So then you get into track packs. You can extend the set that you have and include up to 2 running lines with their own power setup, as you can see here with the 2 controllers on a nice board. So the track plans here, now you're seeing a canopied train station, and I have a set of 4. Gives you lots of options to get more trains in and out the larger station, and the yard here with the turntable. And that's something that, I would like to have, but I just don't have the space for it. And that means I can't turn trains around, which is pretty limiting. But that's a great overhead shot there. Your nice bridge, lots of variety in there. So then power controllers come in sort of all shapes and sizes. And then the levers, the same thing. And somebody who has got a number of these, Jenny Kirk has, and also Alan in the Loft. And for the 74-75 year, we've got new locomotives. Sorry about that. We get new locomotives under Silver Seal, the Type 4 diesel electric, and that is R863. I've got one of these, but the motor and the bogie are broken. I need to find the whole set of that to get it running again. And there's the ubiquitous Class 5. Barry Davis just did one of his special reviews on the Black 5s yesterday or the day before. You should check it out. And the 9F, another great locomotive, the 210 R861. And then R552, the Class 7 mixed traffic locomotive and tender, Oliver Cromwell. And then we're into diesels here. And there's the Type 2, the Type 3 diesel, the Hymic, and then we've got the 3F tank, the 060 shunter, R152, and another ubiquitous diesel dock shunter. I'm sure everybody's got one of those, R253. And so here's a great breakout to assist the modeler on servicing the locomotives. And you know, here we've got some spare brushes and the capsule of smoke oil if you needed it. And you know, it's identifying everything here in this exploded model, which is really excellent for the newcomer. Now we're moving on to famous company locomotives, LNER, LMS, Great Western and Southern. Now I'm assuming in these cases these are actually photographs, may have been touched up a little bit, but they're certainly photographs, as opposed to what I showed you in the last review, which was the commercial artists had done all the artwork for the catalogue. And I have one of these here. I'm missing a couple of screws, but it still runs. Great locomotive. I have to find the tender. It's around somewhere. Now we're getting into British Rail coaches, so we've changed from the big four British Railways into British Rail. And you know, they're nice sets, the blue and grey coaches. And well, you could say custard and cream for these ones up here, but they're sort of earlier editions, and you know, with fitted interior, and in this case white rims on the wheels. And here we have the Great Western and LNER and Southern, along with British Rail Pullmans. And here are those Thomson coaches, R745, R746, no interior in them. I'm not really sure why they did that, but nevertheless. And then a great variety of choice for wagons and rolling stock. The Esso tank wagon, I'm sure you have lots of these, and they're well represented on your layout. I've got a rake of these also. And private company named wagons, or vans as it should be called. And the silver seal wagons, you know, another step up. I'm not sure if they cost more, but a little bit more detail in them, you know, with ladders on this shell tanker. And yeah, they just seem to be nicer models. Now we're into bogie and track maintenance vehicles, and here's the R342, the car transporter with 6 cars. So I have a number of those, and I've got this 100-ton chemical tanker, as I told you in the last broadcast, and the permanent way cleaning wagon. I think everybody should have one of these. I've got this set in a box unopened. I apologise about the shadow. It's the overhead lighting I've got in this room. They're LEDs, and for whatever reason I've got this I can't get rid of the shadow at the moment. Excuse me. So as I said, I have this set in a box. I had it up for sale, excuse me, at the last model railway show I was at, but didn't get any takers. So now we're into the stations, and this morning I watched Barry Davis's latest video, and he's got a great example of how to set up a station with numerous lines passing through, and all of it Hornby, Triang Hornby. And you know, that's a great site there with a double canopy covering, I guess, 4 tracks, and that requires, you know, the double girder in here to support both spanning trusses, and all the various bits and pieces to add to it, buffer stops, fences, etc., and of course crew and station staff. So under scale model construction, we've got a variety of options: suburban homes, bungalows, cottages, and petrol station. I wonder what the price of petrol was in those days. Nice little scene there, industrial, and then the downtown area. And a factory warehouse, and an interesting lifting bridge. I'm just wondering if that was an American thing. And it's battery operated. I've never seen that. Yeah, I said it's unusual and attractive scenery accessory. Nice examples of the bridge or bridges that can be built into your layout in the support system, and the gantries for signals and home signals, etc. The R408 turntable. Nice. Where to power your track and signal control sets. Yeah, this is great if you can get it set up. And once again, geometry for the track, for radii and turnouts or switches, points, whatever you want to call it. And of course, silver seal track for your silver seal locomotives and vans and wagons, coaches, etc. And here's a question there. How old were you when you first had a train set? There's a good question for everybody. And inspiration in these days, the railway modeller for the average enthusiast. Were you an average enthusiast? And on the back page, Rico for accessories. So this turned out to be a little bit longer than usual, and that was because I chose to speak about the Ringfield motor issues and problems that sometimes arise. I thought that would be a nice little addition. And if you watch Double O Bill, he can explain it in greater detail, and Barry Davis, if you look through his channel, you'll find further information on that problem and how to resolve it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks very much for tuning in, and remember to give me the big thumbs up, like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And that was the double O gauge scale model catalogue edition 20, 1974-75. Anyway, we'll see you next time here at Partick Hill Station. Bye for now.